who preach ultimately the same faith we do. There's that word again, of course. But who preach ultimately the same faith that we do are kind of losing, ostensibly anyway, in the minds of the people out there who are really, really irreligious in the 21st century. Kind of looks like they're losing the battle. And it's because of this stuff. To get back to your question, sorry. You know, it looks like they're losing the battle on the basis of sola scriptura alone. So, any other questions before we go on?
So the book of nature, that's just like evidence we're seeing all around us. Like just God's creation. Everywhere we go, we see, life or, just anything that's around us.
Our brains, first
using
principles,
logic.
Anything, right. Anything outside of the Bible that one might use to ballast his faith. Yeah, thanks. Good question. Motion. The idea that there is motion, for the ancients, this was a really big deal. They were smitten by the idea of the celestial bodies. And well, if there's one planet they knew that we have this motion because they were stargazers, they're astronomers. But, well, if we have this motion, then there had to be this first motion, right? We're going to talk about the 4 types of causes briefly. It's simple stuff, but we'll clear this up. But if this thing is moving, if this cue ball is moving, well, it's going to strike if you're playing with anyone who's decent at pool, it's going to strike another ball. It will impart that motion, and they knew all this stuff. What became Newtonian physics, they had all that. So, motion. If you have motion, you trace it back, and you don't want to pose an infinite regression, right? So you have to have a first mover, and that's what Aristotle, he wasn't Jewish. There's only one monotheism at the time he lived. He's a Greek, circa 400 AD, BC. The only type of monotheist walking the globe were the Jews. Wasn't a Jew. He was a Greek. And they had Zeus and all that, Zeus and Apollo and all those characters, crazy characters from Edith Hamilton, and he reasoned to the idea of monotheism. I mean, this is just one among a million reasons why Aristotle's so important to us. But he reasoned as a first principle to the idea this stuff doesn't make sense. If there's going to be a mover, there's got to be a prime mover. He's got some of the stuff we went through last week, just quickly. And for him, being was intelligible. Okay, so in Aristotle, it's important for talking high medieval philosophy. There are these 4 causes. There's an efficient cause, a material cause, a formal cause, and the kind of money cause is the final cause for us here, and that's really what, arguably, if you look at the whole history of man, is a big claim. I like big claims, you probably know. In the whole history of man, the idea of final causation is at the heart of really where we went wrong at the end of the medieval period, where science went wrong, and why things can either be understood or not understood. Things in all of their infinite perplexity can be either intelligible or non-intelligible. We'll talk about that at the end, though. The efficient cause is just, if you're thinking about it in terms of billiards, for Aristotle, it's just literally the impartation of motion. So, a cue ball efficiently causes an 8 ball to take up motion when it strikes it. Right? Literally, the efficient means work, the work being done. So it's the closest thing to in law we talk about proximate causation. Just what every day your definition would be for causing something. It's probably efficiently caused. Material and formal cause, I don't want to befuddle the whole process by getting into Plato and Aristotle, but a formal cause is its form, a material cause is its matter. People are appalled that I try to, whether it's Philosophy 101 or History of the Church, my friends, particularly my Protestant friends, are appalled that I try to kind of circumvent Plato and just get to Aristotle. But but I wouldn't be having fidelity to my worldview of circumventing Plato if I went too much into those. They're real. The material cause is my body in a certain way. My body causes me to do that which I do materially, right? Sort of a attenuated sense of causation, but it's real nonetheless. Formal cause is my soul, because that's my form. You don't even have to worry about it. It's, in a certain sense, anything that I do is being formally caused by my form. Don't even worry about it. What's really important for us here tonight is the idea of efficient cause, sort of basic causation, and final cause. And the final cause is also known as, I'll stop using the Greek lettering, it's telos. A thing's final cause, here's how you end run what a final cause is. For any object, what's the final cause of the whiteboard? God. What's the final cause of man? God. What's the final cause of a man? God. Anything, it's its ultimate reason for being. And there's something that is alive and well when we talk about both medieval theology, natural theology, and when you talk about what I believe, when I ballast my own faith at the end of the day, it's called teleology. It's just the logos of the telos, the final cause. And so, to jump to the end for a second, when you hear the debate of creationism versus evolution, and sometimes you kind of hear this intelligent design argument interjected in between it all, that is sort of the mantle that the Protestants have taken up. It's the closest thing they come to teleology. It's saying, hey, things are ordered. You know, it's not just chaos. It's ordered. It has an end. It's got a destination or a goal. And that's, of course, what we say. When something tragic happens to someone, you say, remember, your final destination is God. So it's a teleological appeal you make to someone who has just received, say, bad news. But it's always true. And teleology is at the heart of scholastic medieval theology. Now, remember what I told you. It's important that when we talk about teleology, or something that today is often called intelligent design, it's a manner of proving. Thomas had 5 ways of proving God's existence, and they're all 4 of them anyway are a priori arguments. They're first principles. You could make these arguments if you never really experienced much about the world and lived most of your life in a dark closet. You could say, hey, well, things seem to be ordered, even in here. There seems to be, my body is cohering, I'm not floating away. My thoughts cohere. And they seem to be ordered more to meaning than to a lack of meaning. That's teleology. And you can make the same argument that I offered earlier about motion. I'm not going to go through them all. But motion's another big one. Hey, if I can move my arm, in a certain sense that's moved by my will, you can follow the chain of events just chronologically and understand there must have been a first motion, an unmoved mover. Because all things that move were first moved, except this one. That must be God. You can reason to it. To put it in other terms, teleology means that lesser beings, contingent beings, as we said last week, are oriented back to their telos, which is the final cause, which is God for all things. It's also their purpose. It's probably a better way of saying it. So God's at the top of the chain. Are there any questions here? Anything at all?
What's the sum of all of tonight's discussion? I missed last week.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I won't be here for the third version, so I'm only getting 1 night here. I'm just trying to kind of like distill this down. What are we trying to get to help us in our faith today?
To help you in your faith today. So is the main point of your question, the thrust of your question, is it today, or is it just, is there?
From here on out, I mean, I got like, for example, this weekend, I have Jehovah's Witnesses showed up at my doorstep, wanted to debate, you know, why are you Catholic versus you should be doing